John Milton's Paradise Lost Book 1 lines 221 to 270. Line-by-line explanation with literary devices. Presented by Ms. E. Aranarada, Assistant Professor of English, Department of English, PSGR Krishnammal College for Women, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, India. We're going to learn the poem Paradise Lost Book 1 lines 221 to 270 written by John Milton. Author's note. John Milton was born on December 9, 1608 and died on November 8, 1674. He was an English poet, polemicist, and civil servant. His 1667 epic poem Paradise Lost was written in blank verse and included 12 books, written in a time of immense religious flux and political upheaval. It addressed the fall of man, including the temptation of Adam and Eve by the fallen angel Satan, and God's expulsion of them from the Garden of Eden. Paradise Lost elevated Milton's reputation as one of history's greatest poets. He also served as a civil servant for the Commonwealth of England under its Council of State and later under Oliver Cromwell. Major works of John Milton. Early poems was written before the Civil War. On Shakespeare, 1630. L'Allegro was written, 1631. Il Penseroso was written, 1631. On the Morning of Christ's Nativity was written, 1629. A Hymn on the Morning of Christ's Nativity was written, 1629. At a Solemn Music. On the Death of a Fair Infant Dying of a Cough. An Epitaph on the Marchioness of Winchester. Lycidas, 1637. Pastoral Elegy. 2. Major epic and dramatic poems. Paradise Lost was written in 1667, revised 1674. Epic poem in 12 books. Paradise Regained was written in 1671, sequel focusing on Christ's temptation. Samson Agonis was written in 1671, biblical tragic drama in Greek style. 3. His Latin works as follows. Milton was a skilled Latinist. Elegiarum Liber, Latin elegies. Silvarum Liber. 4. Political and prose writings. Milton wrote many influential political, religious, and philosophical pamphlets on education and liberty. Areopagitica was written in 1644, famous speech defending freedom of the press. Of Education was written in 1644. Political Theory and Church Reform. The Reason of Church Government urged against prelacy was written in 1642. Of Reformation was written in 1641. Animadversions was written in 1641. An Apology for Smectymnuus was written in 1642. Civil War and Commonwealth Writings. The Tenure of Kings and Magistrates was written in 1649. Defense of Regicide. Iconoclast was written in 1649. Rebuttal of Royalist Propaganda. Defensio pro Populo Anglicano was written in 1651. Defense of the English People, Latin. V. Later prose works such as follows. A Treatise of Civil Power was written in 1659. Considerations touching the likeliest means to remove hirelings out of the church was written in 1659. The ready and easy way to establish a free commonwealth was written in 1660. 6. Translations and miscellaneous. Psalm translations. Meter of the Psalms. Latin and Italian sonnets. English sonnets including. The following works also written by John Milton. On His Blindness. To the Lord General Cromwell. To Mr. Lawrence. On the Late Massacre in Piedmont. Read a poem. Paradise Lost by John Milton, Book 1. The following poem verse is from 221 to 270. Is this the region, this the soil, the clime, said then the lost archangel, this the seat that we must change for heaven, this mournful gloom for that celestial light? Be it so, since he who now is sovereign can dispose and bid what shall be right. Farthest from him is best whom reason hath equalled, force hath made supreme above his equals. Farewell, happy fields where joy for ever dwells. Hail horrors, hail infernal world, and thou profoundest hell receive thy new possessor. One who brings a mind not to be chonged by place or time. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven, what matter where, if I be still the same, and what I should be, all but less than we shall be free. Almighty hath not built here for his envy, will not drive us hence. Here we may reign secure, and in my choice to reign is worth ambition though in hell, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. But wherefore let we then our faithful friends, teach associates and co-partners of our loss lie thus astonished on teach, oblivious pool, and call them not to share with us their part in this unhappy mansion, or once more with rallied arms to try what may be yet regained in heaven, or what more lost in he whom thunder hath made greater. Here at least. To emphasize on characters. 1. Satan, the speaker of the entire passage, referred to as the lost archangel, and he is the central character expressing pride, defiance, and ambition. 2. God, the Almighty and Sovereign, and he. This character is not directly present, but repeatedly referenced by Satan, called He who now is sovereign, th Almighty, whom thunder hath made greater. Character 3. Beelzebub. Though not directly speaking in this specific excerpt, he is present in the scene. Satan is talking to him after both have fallen into hell. Characters 4. The fallen angels, Satan's followers, referred to collectively as faithful friends, associates and co-partners of our loss, those lying on the oblivious pool. These include angels like Mammon, Moloch, Belial, etc., though they are not named in this specific p. Let me introduce the characters in this poem. 1. Satan. He is the main speaker and he is considered to be the defiant leader of the fallen angels of the hell. 2. God, the Almighty. He could be mentioned as the supreme ruler of the universe who caused the Satan's fall. 3. Beelzebub. Audience of Satan's speech and considered to close companion. 4. Fallen angels. They all referred to collectively as comrades who FLL with Satan. Line by line explanation. Line 1. Is this the region, this the soil, the clime? Here the Satan looks around hell in shock and disbelief, asking, is this really the place, the land, the climate where they now must live? Line 2. Said then the lost archangel, this the seat. To explain that the lost archangel, Satan, asks whether this horrible place is now the throne or dwelling assigned to them. Line 3. That we must change for heaven, this mournful gloom. Here in this line Satan asks if they truly must exchange heaven for this sorrowful darkness. Line 4. For that celestial light? Thereby the Satan contrasts the gloomy darkness of hell with the bright, divine light of heaven they have lost. Line 5. Be it so, since he, Satan, resigns himself to the situation, so be it. Line 6. Who now is sovereign can dispose and bid, and what shall be right? The Satan bitterly acknowledges that God, the sovereign, has the authority to decide what is right and how things should be. Line 7. Farthest from him is best. In this line Satan claims that the farther he is from God, the better. Line 8. Whom reason hath equalled, force hath made supreme, and above his equals. In this line, he argues that by reason he was equal to God, but force, God's power, made God superior, showing Satan's pride and refusal to accept divine authority. Line 9. Farewell happy fields, and where joy forever dwells. Here the Satan bids farewell to heaven, those joyful fields where happiness is eternal. Line 10. Hail horrors, hail and infernal world, and thou profoundest hell. In this line, he greets the horrors of hell and the deep, infernal world with a kind of defiant welcome. Line 11. Receive thy new possessor. Then finally hell should accept him as its new ruler or inhabitant. Line 12. One who brings and a mind not to be changed by place or time. At last he says he brings a mind that cannot be changed by location or by time. His determination remains the same. Line 13. The mind is its own place, and in itself, and can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. Here he claims the mind has the power to create its own heaven or hell. Attitude determines experience. This is one of the most famous lines in the poem. Line 14. What matter where, if I be still the same? to explain that it doesn't matter where he is, as long as he remains himself. Line 15. And what I should be, all but less than he and whom thunder hath made greater? Thereby he insists he is everything he should be, except less than God, because God's superior power, thunder, made him greater. Line 16. Here at least, and we shall be free, that Almighty hath not built, and here for his envy will not drive us hence. To explain that in hell they will at least be free. God did not build hell, and therefore will not banish them from it. They can remain here without interference. Line 17. Here we may reign secure, and in my choice, and to reign is worth ambition though in hell. Thereby to confess that here in hell they can rule safely. For Satan, to rule, even in hell, and it is his worth ambition.
2.
Line 18. Better to reign in hell than serve in heat. In this line Satan's famous declaration, it is better to be a ruler in a terrible place than a servant in a glorious one. Line 19. But wherefore let we then our faithful friends? Thereby he questions why they are neglecting their loyal followers. Line 20. Associates and co-partners of our loss. Thereby in this line we can observe that these companions shared in their defeat and fall. Line 21. Lie thus astonished on t'oblivious pool. Hereby all of the Satan followers lie unconscious on the oblivious pool, the lake of fire, stunned and unaware. Line 22. And call them not to share with us their part, and in this unhappy mansion. Here in this line to explain that Satan wonders why they haven't called their companions to join them in their new, sorrowful home, hell. Line 23. Or once more, and with rallied arms to try what may be yet and regained in heaven, or what more lost in hell? Finally Satan suggests gathering their forces again, either to attempt to regain something in heaven or to find out what additional losses or opportunities hell may offer. It hints at further rebellion or plotting against God. Structure and form. 1. Epic poem written in blank verse. The entire poem, including this passage, is written in blank verse. Blank verse equals unrhymed iambic pentameter. Unrhymed. No rhyme scheme. Iambic pentameter. Each line usually has 10 syllables in a pattern of unstressed plus stressed beats. Example pattern. D-dum and a dum and a dum and a dum and a dum. This creates a grand, elevated style suitable for epic themes. 2. Miltonic style of blank verse. Milton's blank verse is distinctive. Uses enjambment, lines flowing into one another without full stops. Heavy use of caesuras, pauses within lines. Inverted or unconventional syntax, word order, to create emphasis and grandeur. Long, complex sentences extending across many lines. This gives the poem a majestic, biblical, and oratorical tone. 3. Elevated epic language. The passage demonstrates epic similes, though not a long one here, they appear elsewhere. Formal diction, sovereign, profoundest hell, celestial light. Classical influence echoes of Virgil and Homer. 4. Dramatic monologue within the epic. Although this is part of an epic narrative, this section functions like a dramatic monologue. Satan speaks at length. He expresses his philosophy, pride, and rebellion. Shows psychological depth and self-justification. So, the form is epic verse, but the mode is dramatic speech. 5. Non-stanzaic form. Paradise Lost does not use stanzas. It is written in continuous verse paragraphs, also called verse paragraphs or blocks of blank verse. This creates a flowing narrative quality, flexibility for long descriptive or argumentative passages. 6. Epic conventions present. Even in this small excerpt, elements of epic poetry appear. Indication of higher powers elsewhere in Book I. Epic hero/anti-hero speech, Satan here. Cosmic setting, heaven versus hell. Grand themes, rebellion, freedom, ambition, divine justice. Finally, To tell about the structure in this poem, verses form is blank verse, with an unrhymed iambic pentameter, and stanza form has no stanzas found, but it is continuous verse paragraphs, and its syntax are two long, complex, and inverted structures. The techniques followed by author is enjambment caesuras and elevated diction. Mode is dramatic monologue by Satan Sheech. Literary device. 1. Blank verse. The entire passage is written in unrhymed iambic pentameter. Example: every line is 10 syllables, approximately, with no rhyme. 2. Apostrophe could be found in the following lines. Satan addresses inanimate places, as if they could hear him. Farewell, happy fields. Hail, horrors. Hail, and infernal world. Receive thy new possessor. Creates dramatic intensity and shows Satan's defiant leadership. 3. Alliteration. Repetition of consonant sounds could be found in the following lines. Farewell, happy fields. Hail, horrors, hail. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Mournful gloom. Adds rhythm and emphasis. 4. Paradox. Contradictory ideas with hidden truth could be found in the following lines. The mind is its own place. Can make a heathen of hell, a hell of heathen. Shows Satan's philosophy of self-deception and pride. 5. Antithesis. Strong contrasts used for dramatic effect could be found in the following lines. Heathen versus hell. Light versus gloom. Rain versus serve. Heaven's happy fields versus hell's horrors. Highlights Satan's rebellious mindset. 6. Imagery could be found in the following lines. Vivid sensory descriptions. Mournful gloom. Visual darkness. Celestial light. Brightness of heaven. Profoundest hell. Depth and terror. Oblivious pool. Lake of fire where angels lie stunned. 7. Metaphor that could be found in the following lines. The mind is its own place, mind compared to a realm or kingdom. New possessor. Satan metaphorically claims hell like a ruler over land. 8. Personification, which could be found in the following lines. He treats hell as if it were alive. Receive thy new possessor. Shows his ambition to rule. 9. Hyperbole, which could be found in the following lines. Bold exaggeration. Where joy forever dwells in heaven. Profoundest hell. 10. Figure of speech irony that could be found in the following lines. Satan glorifies hell as a place of freedom. Here at least, and we shall be free. Better to reign in hell than serve in heat. A tragic irony because hell is a place of punishment, not liberty. 11. Next is inversion figure of speech, hyperbaton, that could be found in the following lines. Milton rearranges normal word order for emphasis. Whom reason hath equalled, force hath made supreme. What matter where if I be still the same? This gives the verse an epic, classical feeling. 12. Elevated diction. Use of grand, formal vocabulary are applicable in following phrases. Sovereign, celestial, infernal, profoundest, possessor, almighty. This enhances the epic tone. 13. Dramatic monologue are applicable in following terms. The whole excerpt is a long, powerful speech by Satan, revealing his pride, his ambition, his refusal to repent, his leadership over fallen angels. 14. Symbolism are applicable in following phrases. Many elements symbolize moral or spiritual ideas. Light equals God's presence, goodness. Darkness/gloom equals sin, rebellion. Hell equals consequences of pride. Thunder equals God's power. Freedom in hell equals Satan's self-delusion. 15. Epic conventions are applicable in following phrases. Since this is an epic, it includes heroic though fallen speeches, grand settings, heaven, hell, elevated style, themes of cosmic conflict. Let us see the political background of the poem. 1. The English Civil War began in 1642, ended in 1651. Milton lived through one of the most important political conflicts in English history, such as Under the Influences, Royalists, supporters of King Charles I, versus parliamentarians who opposed the king. Milton strongly supported the parliamentarian, which is Puritan side, to correlate the political scenario to the poem, such as the conflict between God and Satan mirrors the conflict between monarchy and republicanism. Ideas of authority, obedience, rebellion, and freedom in the poem reflect real political debates. 2. Execution of King Charles I, 1649. Milton publicly defended the execution of the king in his prose writings. He believed kings could be tyrants. People had a right to overthrow unjust authority. Connection to the poem. Satan's rebellion and arguments about freedom, ambition, and tyranny sound very similar to the Republican arguments used by rebels against the king. However, Milton does not glorify rebellion. He uses Satan to show how false political rhetoric can disguise pride and ambition. 3. The Commonwealth and Cromwell's Rule, 1649 to 1660. After the king's execution, England became a republic, Commonwealth, led by Oliver Cromwell. Milton worked for the government as Latin's secretary, propagandist. Influence on the poem. Milton believed in meritocracy, self-governance, individual liberty. These beliefs appear in Satan's speeches, though Milton shows the dangers of twisting these ideals. 4. The restoration of the monarchy, 1660. When Charles II returned to the throne, Milton's works were banned. He was imprisoned for a short time. He was politically ruined and nearly executed. Paradise Lost was written soon after this period, when Milton was blind, isolated, and disillusioned. Reflection in the poem. Social background of the poem. 1. Rise of Puritanism. Milton was a Puritan, a group that sought moral discipline, removal of corruption in the church, emphasis on individual conscience. In the poem, heaven represents divine order and obedience. Hell represents moral disorder and rebellion. This mirrors the Puritan worldview. 2. Religious conflicts. 17th century England was torn by Protestant versus Catholic conflicts, church reform debates, disputes over religious authority. Milton supported Protestant individualism, free interpretation of the Bible, rejection of church hierarchy. These ideas appear in Satan's challenge to authority. Milton's emphasis on reason, free will, and moral responsibility. 3. Growth of humanism and Renaissance individualism. Milton was deeply influenced by classical literature, Renaissance ideals of knowledge, liberty, and human dignity. This explains the epic style, references to classical heroes, and the focus on intellectual power. The mind is its own place. 4. Emerging ideas of liberty. During Milton's time, ideas about political liberty, freedom of thought, freedom of speech were beginning to grow. Satan's speeches contain distorted versions of these ideas, showing how noble ideas can be misused, how ambition disguises itself as freedom. Aspect. Influence on the poem. English Civil War. Themes of authority, rebellion, and power. Execution of King Charles I. Questions about tyranny and justified resistance. Cromwell's Commonwealth. Republican ideas, merit, liberty. Restoration of the monarchy. Feelings of loss, exile, and betrayal mirrored in Satan's fall. Religious tensions. Conflict between divine authority and individual ambition. Humanism. Classical style. Intellectual heroism. Philosophical depth. Emerging liberty. Ideas of freedom twisted by Satan. Puritan beliefs. Emphasis on morality, obedience, and free will. Thank you so much for patient listening to this audiobook, and stay tuned to listen to another audiobook. Bye bye, take care, have a great day ahead, see you guys.